Resident Evil 3. Is it worth a buy, guys? Is it? Let's read the words of the developer. Jill Valentine is one of the last remaining people in Raccoon City to witness the atrocities of the atrocities Umbrella performed. To stop her, Umbrella unleashes their ultimate secret weapon, Nemesis. Yes, guys, it's Resident Evil 3's turn for the old slap and dash remake. Now, if you remember my Resident Evil 2 remake review, I loved that game. I've never played any of the early Resident Evil games, so Resident Evil 2 was brand new for me and I loved it. I thought I would hate it, but I really did. It was a good game. It was a very good game. I really did enjoy that. So, Resident Evil 3, I was hyped and stoked, guys. So you can imagine how fucking disappointed I am after playing the fucker. Anyway, before we get into all the hows and the whys and the demand if I don'ts, let's just quickly have a look at how well the game runs. I played through this game on a 1080 i7 and also tested it on a i9 2080, and it ran fine on both of them and looks absolutely gorgeous. It's had a lovely remake graphically. There are a few graphical options you can tweak as well. You can bind your keys in the controls, but it has to be said, guys, it's freaking clunky. It's more clunky than Resident Evil 2. But let's quickly have a look at the story. No spoilers at all here, guys. As in Resident Evil 2, you get to play two characters again. It's Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira in this game. It's like it was in Resident Evil 2. You kind of get different equipment with each character. And for example, Jill has a lockpick, but Carlos doesn't. And he'll be going through a level. And there'll be loads of things to lockpick and he can't do shit about it. But then things will happen and you get to play in that level after it's been cleared out by Jill, and she can go around and just unlock everything. And so lots of backtracking like you did in Resident Evil 2. But guys, the levels are shit. I mean the shit. And I have heard on very good authority from people on my Patreon that there are things missing in this game that were in the original Resident Evil 3, that a lot of the content is missing. This isn't a full kind of remake. There's shit missing, guys. And I don't know why. Anyway, let's carry on. I found it bland. I found the areas bland. I found the combat not as good. I don't know what it is. It just seemed more zoomed in when I was aiming down sights. I was kind of totally blinded. The FOV was awful. It was weird. I even went back and looked at Resident Evil 2, and it's not as zoomed in as it is in Resident Evil 3, and I found that a bit of a problem. I also found that the zombies behave differently as well. When you're shooting them, they weren't the same as in Resident Evil 2. I kind of was really expecting an improvement of Resident Evil 2, and what I got was quite a subpar game compared to Resident Evil 2. Even the story was shit. There wasn't even much of it, to be honest with you. It was just little bits and bobs here and there. There wasn't the sense of story that you got with Resident Evil 2 with this. But I think the biggest problem with it is, without a shadow of a doubt, the levels. I mean, the police station in Resident Evil 2 was awesome. It was just all the puzzles that you had. There were like head-scratching puzzles to get through to unlock different areas and different things. There's none of that in this. I mean, you have to collect a few things to get through a few locked doors, stuff like that, but there's none of the puzzles that you're used to in Resident Evil 2. And the whole hospital is just boring. I mean, you spend quite a bit of time in there. It's boring, and the streets are just... they look nice, but as far as level design is concerned, the shit. And that brings me on to the actual combat in these streets and hospitals. And as I said, it's just pretty boring and pretty bland. Same type of guns you get. You get a grenade launcher with Jill, which is very handy, which fires fire grenades, timed grenades, and just straight up explosive grenades. That's very, very useful, especially in a boss fight. The boss fight. Oh god, the boss fight. One of the worst boss fights I've ever had in my life. Honestly, unbelievably scripted. Oh, talking about scripted.
talking about scripted, the Nemesis guy. Do you know in Resident Evil 2 how he's just constantly walking towards you and you just hear them footsteps? So unnerving. Well, no, forget it. You get none of that in Resident Evil 3. This guy is just like... he's called Mr. Cutscene Man. He just pops out at specific points in the game by a trigger and says, "Hi, it's Cutscene Man again." It's just bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Nowhere near. It's not even in the same league as Resident Evil 2. Not even in the same league. Ammo-wise and things, it's the same kind of stuff as you got in Resident Evil 2. But I did kind of run out of ammo and I did get a little bit hairy. But again, what I wanted to share, I'm just jumping around here a bit, but what I wanted to share on the combat was there's something wrong with it. There's something off with the combat. It's not as responsive, which is coming back to what I said earlier on in the review. It's clunky. It's almost like the animations, you're fighting against animations. You'll come up to a zombie and with Carlos you can whack them. And you'll hit the spacebar, which is the whack-em key, and the next thing that happens is the zombie grabs you. It's like, oh, sorry, the animation was starting over there with the zombie, so you can't interrupt that with your whack. It's just bullshit. The amount of times I got took down by a zombie, even though I actually hit the spacebar to whack it before it took me down. I lost count. And another thing, when a zombie grabs you, it tells you to spam the mouse button. You never escape. You can be the fastest wanker on the planet. I don't care how fast your hand goes. You cannot hit that mouse button fast enough to get him off you, to push him away. He will always bite you and then you throw him away, which is just, I don't know what the f***. The game is just not as good by any means as Resident Evil 2. But on the plus side, there is some pluses, guys. At times, the atmosphere is really good, and so are some of the monsters that attack you. You can get into some areas where it is just really, really creepy. And the zombies come at you thick and fast. There's a couple of times where you have to fend off waves of zombies. There's a couple of jump scares. Well, quite a few jump scares in this. And when you're running low on ammo, the tension is right up there and it is very enjoyable. There were times when it's really enjoyable, but then one of these things will happen where there's just clunky and it just kind of ruins it all. And honestly, I didn't enjoy this game anywhere near as much as I enjoyed Resident Evil 2. And do you want to know the kicker? The big kicker? It's 6 hours long, guys. Resident Evil 2, I think it took us 14 hours to beat it. This is 6, and it's £50. It's more like a bad DLC than an actual standalone AAA game. I mean, you do get a 4v1 multiplayer game with it, but so what? Resident Evil is not about multiplayer. It's about the intense immersion of a single-player game with zombies. And this just feels half-assed, almost like a cash grab, to be honest. But look, I know there's a lot of people out there who are die-hard Resident Evil fans who just want this for their collection. And I do have some good news for you. Green Man Gaming are officially the cheapest seller of this game. And there's a link in the description which will take you straight to it via my channel, and you can grab it for £38, I believe it is, which is a huge saving from what it is on Steam of like 50 quid, I think it is on Steam. And also you get to help the channel. But bear in mind, guys, I'm thumbing this down. I do not think it's worth a buy. It's just so damn disappointing compared to Resident Evil 2. And I can't understand how some reviewers have given this 9 out of 10. It's like, I just give up with it now. What the f***, man. Whatever.